Dean's List lunch and some other stuff, so we weren't sure who was going to get here. Basically, this is for you, ladies and gents, to ask whatever is on your mind. Whether you're a mentor or a student, I know you got questions on your mind, whether it's about your future or your present or situations that you're facing that you don't know how to deal with. And these fabulous 12 ladies are in various stages of their career. And we have an alum and a college student as well. So she's been where you are and is now in a new place as well. So they are prepared to talk about anything. Some are in technical industries and technical roles. Some of them are in non-technical roles in technical businesses. So as you know, you're on your first team's like a business. So in that business, you have the PR and the finance and all. So not everybody is going to be an engineer or be in a technical role, but you may want to work in one of those more creative roles in a tech company. So we have some good representation here. So if that's you, don't forget to answer your questions too, because we're not here just for the technical. So, yes? Oh, no. So first off, I would like to say a very big thank you to Viasat, Walt Disney Imagineering, and Southwest Airlines for their generosity in supporting the conferences here at the 2017 First Championship. And welcome to students. Again, this is the fourth year. We want to answer the questions that you have. So I'm going to do my best Oprah, and I'm going to work the room. So if you have a question, put up your hand. The lovely ladies in the back. Raise your hand, lovely ladies in the back. Okay, these are my Sherpas. They are going to hand out a little treat. So if you ask a question, you get a treat, donated by these fabulous ladies and their companies. So first off, let's have some introductions. So let's start over here. Yes, please.
Oh,
who are you and where are you from and what do you do?
Hi, good morning, everybody. It's my privilege to be here today to meet you all and talk with you. No problem. You tested it, it worked. Better? Better. My name's Elaine Wilder. I work for Underwriters Laboratory. I am a project manager in the technology department for the software division of UL. You also know me as your safety advisor at all your events that you attend, your districts, your regionals. We do that. We send advisors to every event, so it's wonderful to see you again. I'm also a lead Safety Smart ambassador with our safety outreach program, so ask me about that later as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Karen Hording, Executive Director and CEO for the Society of Women Engineers, or SWE as we're commonly known. We are a global membership organization, about 40,000 women worldwide. We focus on pre-college, college, and women in the workforce. So for those of you that are here competing, we have a program called SWE Next that you can be part of. For those of you that may be alumni and are helping to coach and mentor teams, either as a collegiate student or a working professional, we hope that you will be part of our organization. We provide professional development, networking, everything you need in addition to that technical expertise to help you be successful. So it's my pleasure to be here.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Andrea Lawler. I'm from Walt Disney Imagineering. We are the creative arm of the Walt Disney Company that designs all of the theme parks, hotels, rides, and cruise ships.
Good morning. My name is Erica Toller. I'm a worldwide executive with FedEx Corporation. I manage the private equity strategy and sales for the corporation, which is about $1 billion contract that we partner with companies all across the world that are owned by private equity to do business with FedEx. So FedEx is a huge supporter of FIRST. We've been partners with FIRST since 2002. We've shipped in-kind shipping for over 15 million pounds since 2002, which comes to about $1.5 million in retail cost in transportation. So when you're shipping your robots and your kits, you don't pay for it, we do. So can I get an amen for that? Yay! Woo! So FedEx was founded on the principles of STEM. We really, literally changed the world with technology and innovation. It's at the core of everything that we do. And in my job, which is not a direct STEM field, I deal with mathematics, engineering every single day with companies that I'm brought in to help optimize, look at balance sheets, income statements, and see where I can help make an impact for a company to improve their financial situation. So mathematics in a little bit different way. And I always like to say this, I got a C in finance in college. It was the only C I got, and now I'm in financial selling. It's hilarious. So anything is possible. You can do anything you want to do. So great to be here. Thank you, Carl.
I'm Kathleen Weatherby. I am with Viasat. We are providing telecommunication solutions around the world, and we're here with FIRST because we want to encourage a diverse, creative set of folks to envision themselves as being part of connecting the world, and maybe come to Viasat sometime. My role is I'm a general manager for our Massachusetts operations. We're based out of San Diego, California, but we have sites pretty much all over the country at this point. And my office works on speeding up the internet. So we've got lots of different technology niches that you can focus on, but we're trying to connect the world as fast and in a way that makes everyone's lives a little better.
Hi everyone, I'm Chelsea Bowen from Rolls-Royce. I'm a ceramic matrix composite, so I'm used to saying CMC. Ceramic matrix composite program manager. I've been there for about 5 years now. I've actually been involved with FIRST for 10 years. I am an FRC alum. I was on team 135. I did it all the way through college mentoring, and I still serve as the Indiana FIRST president. That's our nonprofit that runs the district system there.
Woo!
Good morning. My name is Rhonda Pelton, and I am a process automation manager with the Dow Chemical Company. The Dow Chemical Company is a major sponsor of FIRST because even though we are a chemical company, a lot of what we do involves automation, involves mechanics. For our plants to run and operate, we need great minds like yours to keep them running and to keep our products going. In addition to my work at Dow Chemical, I also work with the International Society of Automation. I am the director of the Chemical and Petroleums Division of ISA, and ISA is an organization that is a support because once you leave your college endeavors and you go into industry, you will still need some technical support, and ISA is an organization that is a network for you in industry that where you can tap into professionals and tap into all of the continuing technology advancements that are going on. And one more hat that I'm wearing today is also the Automation Federation. The Automation Federation is very focused on educational activities and improving higher education. So making robotics better, making the information and the technology that you're working on valued in industry, giving you the credentials that make your employers know what you know. So for Dow Chemical, ISA, and the Automation Federation, it is my pleasure to represent all those organizations today, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam. I'm a FIRST alum and mentor now for Team 1710 right outside of Kansas City. I am a university student at the University of Kansas studying civil engineering and mathematics. So if you have any questions about transitioning from FRC over to college and still staying involved with FIRST, I would be happy to answer any of those.
Morning. I'm Emily Dixon. I work at American Airlines. I'm a materials and process engineer at their maintenance facility based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I've been there for 10 years. I got involved through FIRST. I had an opportunity to volunteer with the FLL regional and hosted by 932 Circuit Chargers, and they kept seeing me come back and volunteer. They're like, you should come mentor our team. So I've been involved with them for 7 years now. So just kind of here to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Wow, good morning. My name is Susan Rogers. I'm the Vice President of Safety Training and operation support for NRG Energy. So NRG is a conglomerate. We have power plants across the country. We have nuke, we have fossil, coal and gas. We have a very large presence in renewables, and we also have a very large presence in retail, both in the Texas market and in the Northeast market. So a lot of things going on at NRG Energy. So I have responsibility for safety and training for the entire fleet, or the entire enterprise. I also have operation support for the generation fleet, so I make sure that the plants are running safely and reliably. I'm a licensed professional engineer. I started out in civil engineering, but I quickly went into commercial nuclear power. I spent 25 years in commercial nuclear power in engineering, operations, maintenance, outage, and work management. So got a very broad background. I got my senior reactor operator certification at some point during that evolution. So I'm kind of at the other end of my career from these ladies, but when I say I've seen it all in engineering, I truly have seen all the good and the bad that you can see in engineering. So I'm delighted to be here representing NRG and able to answer your questions. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. My name's Paige Garrett, and I'm actually a certified public accountant. So I'm not an engineer. I brought 2 engineers with me, though, so we can ask them questions if you want. We're a regional accounting firm, and we do tax and audit and assurance services, which seems pretty dry and mundane, but it's pretty exciting. We actually use robots in our practice. So we used a robot that actually took all of the data that someone received to do their tax return, the W-2s, the 1099s, all of that stuff, scanned them all in, and put all the numbers where it needed to go on the tax return. It's actually a super smart scanner, but it really is a robot. And one of the things that we're dealing with now is how to use robots in our audit practice. And I brought some articles with me, but they actually are moving towards using robots in accounting processes to do audited financial statements, data analytics to find fraud, to find who's stealing from companies, and how they're doing it. It's pretty exciting stuff for an accounting firm.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lisa Holland Nelson. I am presently the Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer for a company called Astounds. We are an interactive marketing firm. We do websites, search engine optimization, social media, hosting, and business solutions. Prior to that, I was a co-founder of one of Houston's leading web and mobile marketing companies. And prior to that, I spent 25 years in the fashion business. That being said, when I first got engaged in the whole STEM movement, everyone was going, "What are you doing here?" The fact is, you cannot design a garment if you can't do math, if you don't understand perspective. Calvin Klein is as good at perspective as any engineer who's building a robot. So I would just like to share that. Hey, you know, it's really important. And so that math has been something that's been important to me my entire life. And I'm really excited to be here. I'm totally the alternative side, though. I do marketing, business development, relationship development. So if you're curious about that, I'm happy to help.
Excellent. Excellent. So as you can see, this is a very large panel. So we are going to get started and hit ground running. First of all, I am Carla Prue. I'm the Alliances Manager for FIRST. And several of the ladies represent not only their own company, but they represent alliance organizations, which is what I take care of. Society of Women Engineers is one, Automation Federation, ISA, is another, and NC-WIT, who is not here, is also one of our alliances. And they are also have booths in the Innovation Fair, so if you have any questions afterwards and you don't get a chance to ask these ladies, please head to the Innovation Fair and they can help you there. One more introduction and then we're gonna get in it. I would like to introduce Shelly Henderson, if you would just put up your hand. Shelly is our Diversity and Inclusion Manager for FIRST and plays a very important role with us. She hit the ground running 2 years ago and has created some tremendous resources to help mentors and students with diversity and inclusion training and issues. So we're happy to have her here today. She will be around afterwards as well as the panelists, so if you have some questions, please feel free to ask her as well. With that, let's get going. All right, somebody up front had a question right off the bat, couldn't wait to ask, so let's do it.
So
how did you guys, so being a woman, working not only in the field of STEM but in other fields, how did you guys get over the idea of having to prove yourselves to your other gendered colleagues? And
All right, ladies, who would like to take that? Kathleen, you want to take it?
Maybe. So
Okay.
I'm my personality may be a little bit on the strong side, but I also came from an environment where in high school I had a very pushy physics teacher who was kind of a godsend to me because he was like, you need to go into engineering. Engineering needs people like you, and had really pushed me. And so that is actually how I in those high school years where you don't know what you're doing, sometimes if you have a strong force, they help you, make a decision. But when I got there, it was really just sort of stepping back and vetting for myself, not allowing others to decide how I should feel about something, but vetting to say, wait a minute, this is a good idea, and then just trying to take from that internal feeling of this idea is valid and using that to project the fact that, hey, this is a valid idea, and it's worthy of your attention. And I think when you do that and you present it calmly and assuredly, people listen. And so I think some of it is just not projecting fear and indecision because you're afraid of what they're going to think, and just stepping back and on your own vetting, is this a good idea? And if you believe, yeah, it's a good idea, then project it as a good idea because you know it is, and you've decided inside.
So it's all about finding your inner voice.
Yeah, and just finding your inner courage.
There you go.
And to me, voice isn't maybe the right word because I feel like it's your inner confidence.
There you go. There you go. Andrea?
Thank you so much. I'm just going to add one more quick thing. Sometimes, too, what's a little bit tough, I think, for some people to realize, too, when they're first starting out is you were hired for a reason. As an intern, as full-time, they really loved your perspective and your criteria and qualifications, so they wanted to hear from you. And I think that really helps, too, to give you some confidence, too. And for me, I had a mentor who was male. I was surrounded by a lot of male engineers. There were some female engineers in my group when I first started out. But, the great thing, too, is that he was very willing to listen to what I had to say. He was all about diversity of thought, too. So just touching on what you said as well, too, is just having confidence that, I was brought in for a reason. I shouldn't worry about what I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I have a unique perspective to bring. That really helps as well.
And that's a great segue into the value of mentors. Karen, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so you were mentioning, your colleagues, and so I think that's one of the things early on is to build that network. And so that network can be mentors, so it can be someone who's more senior in the organization. It can be someone who's at your own level, a peer. But to really have that group of people around you that you can talk to about things, that can share sort of that tribal knowledge of the organization, can help you navigate. If there is somebody that's maybe a little bit difficult to work with, can kind of help you navigate that. And I think that helps build your confidence because there are people around you who sort of have your back, and that you can be open and honest with, and they'll give you feedback that will help you kind of navigate those situations. So, and I think that's where organizations like Society of Women Engineers or whatever discipline you might be in, the discipline organizations can help you with that network as well. So maybe people outside of the organization where you work who can help you give you perspective as well. But yeah, especially when you're first starting out, there's nothing like having a really good mentor. And
Yeah, there's great value in women, helping other women. As I'm sure, as I look at this panel and, in various stages of their careers, you've seen some things and learned some things. So, the importance of changing, the stats that we all hear about on a regular basis starts with us, okay?
I think having, a male mentor too. I think having both.
Absolutely.
Men and women.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to see as many men here, and we thank you for coming. We hope that you are here because you are proponents for women in STEM and that you support them, and whether it's on your team or in the workplace. So thank you very much for being here. It takes a strong man to stand up for women, and we appreciate that. So thank you very much.
I have one other comment that I'd like to add with that, and I would also want all of the young ladies not to be offended when you go into an environment and you feel like I'm not being heard, because it's an issue of trust. It's not necessarily about you. So going in and having to prove yourself, I think, is something that's real. And I think that, you know, we don't know if men are experiencing the same thing, but it may not necessarily be an issue about you, but it is about, can they trust you? When you are in a work environment, you all have a common goal that you're trying to achieve. And oftentimes, and we have to give our coworkers the benefit of the doubt, that they want to achieve that in the best manner possible. And they want to know if you're going to be a good contributor to that.
Excellent. All right. Oh, I saw this lady in the corner. I'm getting my exercise.
So my question is more directed toward the alumni, but any input is appreciated. So I'm a senior, and I'm about to, become an alumni myself. And I've through my years, I've experienced a lot of trouble with getting the boys in the shop to include the girls and teach them. And this entire time, I've been kind of hoping that once I get to college, people will be more open to teaching girls, myself included, to more mechanical things. And I was wondering if that's what happens when you transition to college, or if guys continue to do the let me take care of this thing in college as well.
Now we're getting down to it. Okay.
I can't speak for an alumni, so I'll hand it off to her after that. But my experience in college was kind of along that line. The guys are going to want to do their thing, and you're going to have to want to get in their way. And hey, I want to do that too. Let me get in there. So you're going to have to show some initiative that you're interested in that too. It's not like somebody's going to spoon feed you if you want to learn about that. You really need to kind of be like, hey, this is something that I'm passionate about. I wanna get in there. I want to get my hands dirty. And if you're just going to sit back and expect them to stay out of the way or to, like I said, to hand off, hey, they may not realize that you're interested in it. As soon as you kind of get in their way, they go, oh, okay, let me see if I. Usually, I've had a lot of elder mentors that, oh, this girl is interested in what we're doing and she's excited about it. So they're handing me the wrench, they're handing me the welding torch. Like, okay, yeah, here, you're gonna learn this. So yeah, if you show excitement for it, they're more likely willing to step in and teach you. But yeah, if you don't get in there and kind of make yourself known, they may ignore you for a little while.
Sam, what about you?
I think I definitely agree with what she's saying, but I think that it's not only for women that have to go in there and show excitement, it's for everyone. So if you're wanting to get into research, or if you're wanting to do something for a class, your professors or mentors or whoever are not going to look at you in the lens of are you a girl who shows interest? They're going to be like, are you a girl or boy who has any sort of technical skills or any sort of passion? So that's something to look forward to, I would say. And you have so many more resources in university than you do in a high school. Things like Society of Women Engineers, hopefully your college will have a chapter. If not, then you should start one. But you have so many more resources, and professors are a lot more apt to just choosing someone who has passion versus looking at you if you're a girl making a name for yourself, if that makes sense. Kind of that distinction.
Does that help? Okay. Sure.
That's true throughout. That's true when you go to work. That's not going to change. So we had folks that used to think, I'll sit down, I'll do a good job, and I'll be rewarded for it. And that's not how it works. You've got to get out there. You got to let the people you work for know that you're excited about what you're doing. You want to learn more. You want more responsibility. And that's how you get promoted, and that's how you move up. So it doesn't change. And it's not just female versus male. It's across the board. So it's a good lesson to learn early.
But let me just add, it is a lot harder when you're the only girl in the room. There's no question about it. And in a STEM field, you're likely to be that for much of your career. So you just have to get over that. You have to get thick-skinned, and you have to get out there and just take it.
Oh, right here.
Hi. First of all, thank you all for being here. Hi. First of all, thank you all so much for being here. I was just wondering, what's the biggest challenge that you faced in your career, and how did you get past it?
Somebody hasn't spoken yet? Chelsea, go for it.
I know I don't have a long and lustrous career yet. So in my short career time, I feel like my biggest challenge has been feeling like I belong there, and that I didn't trick anybody into getting into Rolls-Royce, that I got there on my merit, and that I'm really good at my job. And I think that you can do things that kind of prove to others that you are worthy of being there, and you really have to then reflect that back on yourself and say, yes, I'm doing this work, I am succeeding, you know, making sure that those above you and work with you understand your contributions, but taking that to heart as well.
Excellent. Let me throw a question out to the ladies, somebody that hasn't asked yet. What do you know now that you wish you'd known then?
So I'm going to go back to her question because I think it will cover both of those, if that's okay.
Do it.
So the biggest challenge I ever had was the first time I lost a job. That's a terrible thing to go through because I was doing a great job, so me losing that job had absolutely nothing to do with me. And that was a hard lesson to learn in a small town in a small state that I lived in. And it turned out to also be the biggest blessing of my career because I moved on from that. I went back to college, I got another degree, and I got, of course, a better job. And from that job, my company got acquired by UL, and I was able to move from Maine to Tennessee with my job, get involved in robotics, get involved in FIRST, and get to meet all of you. So I think you really know deep down that everything worthwhile in your life probably came through a challenge. Like the things that are easy just pass through and you forget, but the things that really challenge you, where you learn your lessons, are where you really step up and grow.
And isn't that what we say at first? We love when you fail because you learn so much when you fail, right? Not fun at the time, but whatever.
May I add something to that?
Sure.
I would love to add, you know, I've not only lost one job, I've lost 3, and all of them were really pretty high profile. So I think the biggest challenge that you really have is understanding generally it really may not be about you, and that it's really important that you choose what you're doing, that you believe in what you're doing, that you do your best to understand whatever the latest, greatest trends are, and you keep yourself a little ahead of the game. But the hardest thing for me, besides being invisible because I wasn't working for someone, was actually speaking up for myself and making sure people understood what I was contributing. I mean, I was brought up as a team player, and there's no I in we, which you'll probably hear over and over again. But there is an I in your success, and you have to really make sure that people understand what you're contributing.
Excellent. Who had their hand up over here? Whoop.
So, my question is directed towards the FIRST alumni. So I've always been told that FIRST gives you lifelong skills. And so I'm wondering, what skills did you see in college and your career that have been at work that you've learned from FIRST?
Teamwork. I mean, like, obviously, I mean, that makes sense, showing up here and you're being on a team for, whether you're in FRC for 6 weeks, just constantly working with someone. I guarantee you that your experience with FIRST is putting you miles ahead of your peers whenever you get to university. Right now it may not feel like it because you're surrounded by like thousands of other students who are having the same experience, but when you get to college, you will realize that you are leaps and bounds ahead of where your other peers are in terms of like working on group projects. Being able to step up and analyze a challenge is something that a lot of students don't get outside of FIRST. Learning how to pick apart and brainstorm and kind of capitalize on everyone's skills. That's something that you really don't get experience with outside of FIRST, and those are skills that you will take with you long after college into the industry. And I'm sure every industry professional here sees you students involved doing that, and they're like probably really excited to see where their industries are going. But from university level, FIRST gives you experiences that a lot of students don't have.
And did that surprise you when you got to college to know that you knew some stuff that other people didn't know because of your first experience?
I kind of knew going in that not everyone was involved with FIRST, so I wouldn't necessarily say I was surprised, but I guess I was surprised by the amount of students who just like had never worked on a team or have worked on a team, but it was for making like a model airplane in a random class or something. You know, something kind of not insignificant, but lesser than this experience, and I don't know. So coming in, a lot of students don't have that team building experience.
Just to piggyback on what she said, I'm really involved in our hiring process because I care desperately about getting the right people on the team. And team skills like you develop in FIRST is a crucial thing that we are always looking for. And I'm betting every one of the women who are more senior would say the same thing, that, you know, nearly nothing we build can be built by a lone wolf, even if they're stellar. They've got to be able to work in a team, and they've got to, you know, 1 + 1 has to equal 3, not 2. So, you know, these team skills are crucial for you.
If I may jump in too as well. So from a company perspective, I did not do FIRST actually when I was in high school. My first team at my high school started when I was a senior graduating. So unfortunately, I did not participate in it. But like I said, I'm from Walt Disney Imagineering. I'm a ride control software engineer. And what I'll say is we love supporting FIRST as well too, like many of the companies here, because so many problems that FIRST will give you are open-ended. And oftentimes in your classes, especially in high school, you know, you learn a certain topic or you learn a subject matter and you think, okay, well, how can I apply this? And oftentimes when you get into industry, some problems you've never solved before you'll get encountered with. You'll think, well, shoot, how do I go ahead and solve that, right? And so I think a lot of the problem-solving skills you guys learn in FIRST are really important. And at Disney in particular, we collaborate. Our engineers collaborate with creative folks from architecture, different disciplines all the time. And so you really have to work on exactly the team building skills you mentioned too, but also working with different disciplines, which you also get a chance to work with here at FIRST too on your teams.
And there are a lot of creative pieces to engineering.
Exactly. Most people don't think of that too, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of creative pieces of engineering, exactly.
So let me just add to that also. I'm on the hiring end of this. One of the technical skills you guys come with that's really very valuable is troubleshooting. She talked about, you know, you learn when you fail, and learning the skills of troubleshooting is really invaluable when you go out in the workplace. That's a very important skill that you'll take with you.
Carla, I wasn't a FIRST
Dawn, is
alumni.
that
You know,
Yes, go ahead.
they didn't have FIRST when I was in high school, okay? Let's just get that right out there. But one of my observations from the team that I work with is your team runs like a little teeny tiny business. You have departments. You have people in leadership positions. You have support staff. You don't even realize that you're part of a teeny tiny business right now. And one day you're going to be at work, and that's just going to click in your head like, oh, I've already worked for a company for 4 years. It was my first team. I saw all the pieces interact, and that's just going to be an aha moment for you when you realize you already know all of that.
Right, and that's going to be a big part of your confidence as well. What we talked about earlier is sometimes you don't realize or you don't know what what you already know, and until you get to apply it. So, all right, questions? Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask a follow-on one to that for some of the young ladies. I have a niece who's in high school. When I've talked to a lot of the people who are in positions of hiring and you're putting together, you know, your resume and stuff, you're really supposed to emphasize how you led teams, you were the captain of this, you were, you know, first, not this first, but, you know, first in charge of this, that, and the other thing. What if you're the most awesome support person? How do you convey that in your resume and be equally attractive? Thank you, that's the word I'm looking for. Equally attractive to someone hiring. Because it seems like we're building, the workforce is out there building teams of leaders. You must be an independent leader to be a part of a team.
I think one of the things that companies really want is just a self-starter. So I think if she would be able to highlight that I didn't need somebody to lead me to do these things. I accomplished all of these things without somebody babysitting me to do them. I think that's what you highlight is highlight the accomplishments. If she's done things, she's done things. Highlight those accomplishments. You don't have to be the president of an organization. Sometimes that means you're doing nothing, you know. No offense to any presidents out there, but that means you've got great people under you and you are just managing them. So, I mean, that's moving to the next level. So if she has a lot of experience actually doing great work, highlight that.
Yeah, and I think a very big part of that is when you all compile your resumes, whether you're as a student or college or beyond, is not to just say you were on a first team. Talk about what you did, because that's what they're going to look for, especially if you're going into a company that, or some people go into teaching or different fields that may not be familiar with first. You're going to have to sell that, and you have a lot of great resources and tools in your toolkit, if I can say that without being weird. But there's a lot that you know that is of value in the real world. So don't forget to talk about if you're the CEO or if you did this or you were part of the chairman's team. They don't know what that means, but explain what that means and the importance of that, and that will help, okay?
I
So
think
make sure you
to-
take it full advantage. Let first work for you as you've worked for them.
To go with that too, make sure that your skills actually match the job that you're applying for.
Oh, good point.
So I'll give you an example. Anytime I have a job opening at FedEx, so I'm one of 460,000 team members globally for FedEx. My employee number is 470189, yes. So anytime, I'm in a leadership position where I have to fill teams. So when I post a job, I get easily 500 resumes within a day. And so I have to go through a process of trying to eliminate and narrow down how do you get to the right person. We have a third party that helps us do the initial steps of that. But if you're somebody that wants to go into engineering, I'm going to give a really stark contrast here of an example. If you want to be an engineer and you apply for a nursing job, think about that for a minute. You're talking about being an engineer, but you don't have any of the credentials, the background, the experience that it takes to be a nurse, because what that says to a hiring manager is, I didn't even read what the job description was for this job. So we get that a lot. I get a lot of people, and I used an extreme example to try and paint the picture of, make sure that when you're applying for a job, you understand what the job is, what the job expectations are, and then modify your resume on your experience to match that job. So you may want to try different industries. That's okay. Modify your resume to match what that industry or what that experience is for the position that you're applying for. The hiring managers everywhere will thank me for this advice I just gave you. So.
Excellent. One question I have for anybody is we get a lot from the teams. I know I want to be in STEM. I may want to be an engineer. I don't know what my passion is, but I feel like there's incredible pressure for me to decide what it is that I want to do. How many ladies on the panel, or if somebody wants to answer this individually, started out as something and ended up where you are right now in doing something else?
If you don't mind, Carl, I'll jump right in. So I actually, I went to USC in Los Angeles, and I studied film first. So I came from the complete opposite of engineering. In high school, I loved math and science, but I really loved storytelling too. And for me, I kept thinking they had to be completely separate. I kept thinking you couldn't do any kind of engineering or technical work that helped to tell a story. To me, I always thought they were completely separate. And so when I started in film, what was interesting was, over time, I thought, well, maybe there's a way to double major in college. There's a way to have two majors. So I thought I'd love to combine the two. That's actually when I found out about Disney, too. And so now, for my job, what I do is I help to tell stories. In an engineering way, I help to build the ride around a story, but we do tell stories every day. And so I think that it's okay if you start, if you think you're interested in STEM, but you have a totally different passion or something very closely similar related to it even, and to say, well, how can I combine the two to get where I want to go, if that makes sense, using both of them. They don't have to be completely separate.
Excellent. Catherine, I saw you nodding furiously.
Yeah, so I have a daughter who's probably the similar age to a lot of folks here, and we actually even had her go through an aptitude assessment because she's like, I don't know what my passion is, I've got to apply to colleges, blah, blah. But what was interesting is that organization emphasized to her that honestly, the more competent and capable somebody is, the more curious they are, the more they're kind of passionate about all kinds of things and can't really say, well, I'm totally passionate about this. And what they emphasized to her was just explore. Find something you're really curious about. Don't worry about passion. Passion will develop as you explore things and decide, well, that was fun. Well, maybe that wasn't so fun. Just continue to develop your curiosity and just explore more deeply anywhere that strikes your fancy, and you'll you'll find your way, and you'll find what you do and you don't like, and you may never develop, the deep, deep-seated passion that this is it. There may be 7 it's. That's okay too.
And it's like the fail. It's okay to do that once, twice, however many times it takes for you to find
Lisa,
what
with
you're.
the 3 careers, you
Mhm.
can.
Please, yesterday, Erica and I were at a conference, and I was so fortunate that my mentor from 15 years ago in New York City, this very famous woman in women's leadership, was here, and she told us we would have 5 careers and untold numbers of jobs within those
Interesting.
careers at this point in our lives.
And
so
each one of them can be exploring a different passion.
yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Who'd have thunk it? Karen, you got anything to add to that?
No, I would just say, particularly with engineering, I think once you get into college, that internships are a great way to start exploring different things, and to not think that, I did an internship with one company between my sophomore and junior year, so, they've invited me back, I have to go back. That's great if on the first try you found your passion, but I think those internships are a great way that, you can really get into seeing what that business or that industry does. You get to do some meaningful work, and you get to see, is this something that's for me, or, maybe not so much. So as soon as you can start exploring those internship opportunities, I highly
And I have to
recommend that.
imagine there's a lot of people out there that thought they really knew when I was 3, I wanted to do this, and then they got in there and they did, and they went, whoa, I hate this, and found something else. So that's okay. Where's my next lady? Here you go.
I'd be curious to ask you, how have you learned presentation skills have helped you to be able to get ideas adopted quicker?
Who hasn't spoken in a while would love to take that one.
Well, I can tell you, if you go to the University of Houston and you major in business, you
Shameless
will be
plug.
forced to do presentations. They actually start offering that in college, and you should take advantage of it. I get asked to judge presentations all the time. They're all accounting focused, but most, I think, of the curriculums have some sort of public speaking class, something like that. And so you just can't be scared. You just have to go in and take those courses, even if they're elective, so you can get practice.
And in addition to your classes and your coursework are the organizations like SWE, like NSBE, like the International Society of Automation. Those are student organizations that give you the opportunity to make technical presentations, to give you the practice in presenting technical ideas, because a public speaking class may give you the confidence to get up, but to present on a technical topic is a little bit different, and so those professional organizations have great value in helping you do that, and helping you to identify mentors who can coach you and help you to get better in that avenue.
And while you're still in your first team, I know some of you are seniors, but many of you are not, make sure that you take advantage of the opportunity to do community outreach and be speaker. Don't let the same people do it all the time, because it's a great experience and it might scare you to death. But once you start doing it, you will get more comfortable, and then you'll have that skill when you get to school.
Carla, don't forget UL, we have a program to help you with that, our Safety Smart Ambassador program. You start out with your FLL team, so you're speaking to 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. There's nothing scary about that. Developing your skills, right? It's your safety outreach, it's public speaking, it's how to lead a meeting. We give you a script to go by. And then one more, maybe even after college, a little outside the box, but Toastmasters International is an amazing organization that teaches you public speaking and leadership skills, how to run a meeting, how to fulfill a role into a meeting, how to be on time, how to keep the agenda moving. And it's a very protective and safe environment with people that care about you and just want you to be a better speaker. So non-competitive environment.
And how
to
to
do that in.
impersonate Oprah. Thank you. Where can folks find information about that program?
For Safety Smart, they're going to email me directly, and every safety captain here was given a business card with my name on it. You email me, I email you back. If you haven't got it yet, we'll make sure you do. I sign you up on the portal. It's actually Disney and UL is the program.
Yay.
And you have access to 8 Timon and Pumbaa safety DVDs and 4 Bill Nye the Science Guy safety DVDs. So it takes you from ages 4 to ages 13. And so you'll become a teacher, a public speaker, and have your safety outreach all wrapped up. So when
And
I
that's
see
free.
you next year, you'll be telling me how many students you talked to.
And that's free, Elaine?
That's free.
Excellent,
Completely free.
excellent. Thank you to UL for doing that. Oh my God.
Hello, thank you all for being here. Our team is a new team, and we have a very specific decision that we need to make, and I'm hoping that you could help us with some of the pros and cons. We'll be a third-year team next year, and we're getting all new people in, and understanding that there's gender bias at the high school and in the workplace. If we go to build a second bot, we can either do one that's like a newbie bot and then the competition bot, or we can go with the girl bot, boy bot. And I know there's a lot of all-women teams here. Does having the gender bots or places where you to split the genders to work on separate teams, I think it could give some opportunities to some women that might feel a little left out. We've had that problem in our teams. But it could also not give them the experience of working together. So what are the pros and cons of having an all-girl team versus a mixed team?
Shelley, what do you think?
So we have discussed this issue, and I don't know that there is a clean or a perfect answer. We've looked at all sides of the issue. We have worked with NAEP, the National Alliance for Partnerships and Equity, to do focus groups to see what people out in the field are doing and what they think about it. As I was listening to you present your scenario and your question, I had a knee-jerk reaction about having a gender bot. And I heard a few other gasps around me that I want to acknowledge. But I will tell you, in terms of what the feedback from the broader network and some of the focus groups and interviews have been are mixed. So on the one hand, giving girls an opportunity who want the opportunity to build confidence in a safe space for girls who want that and need that, that's important. But on the other hand, what we're hearing is that it does not necessarily prepare a couple of things. It does not necessarily prepare girls and young women for real world experiences. For the girls who want it and need that safe space, they should have it. But it doesn't necessarily prepare them for real world work experiences. The other thing that we have heard time and time again is, in order to change some of the dominant narrative and the stereotypes around what girls and young women can do and who they are, part of changing that dominant narrative is to work with young men to change it. And so we don't want to necessarily pretend that letting young men off the hook on how to create environments that work for everyone is part of a solution that makes sense.
Thank you, Shelley. Anybody on the panel want to answer that too?
I would just say Rolls-Royce does sponsor an all-girls event, but for that, they build the robots together. I mean, that's just the robot from the past season, so we'll be using the one from this year's game. We host it in the fall. It's an off-season event, and I think that's a very good experience because we only invite women drive teams. We try to staff the entire field with women key volunteers. I think that's a great experience. Just as being somebody who is in a very, engineering is a very male-dominated. I think that working through the problems it seems like a lot of girls in here have, working with the men on their team, was very valuable to me, knowing that that's what I'm going to work with. I mean, I am the only woman in all of my meetings, and that's okay.
And I'll bet you own it, Chelsea. I'll bet you do. Who had a question here?
A few girls on my team and I have talked about starting an all-girls team. Do you just want me to? Okay. A few girls on my team have, we've talked about starting an all-girls team, and just what would be the best way to kind of get people excited about that, because it's kind of just been pushed off every time we bring it up.
And why in particular do you want to start an all-girl team?
Because I feel like we've been kind of just pushed towards management and not get to explore anything else. And it's like, here's the notebook, do it, don't do anything else.
Anybody?
Has this been addressed with your guys' mentor? Yes. I mean, as blunt as it is, I mean, I feel like then you need to find some more advocates for the women on your team to mentor, because the mentors on your team are not setting you up for success. So I don't think it's necessarily the answer that you set up an all-girls team. I think maybe just finding a different team with the people around you that are going to support, you know, women participating in the technical pieces and the men participating in the management pieces. I think that sounds like a larger issue, and I don't know that just pulling out of that and moving to something else is the answer.
That might have just not been the right fit for you, because not all teams are like that. In the yellow headband.
So we're told that when we graduate from college, most of the stuff that we learn in college is going to be outdated in most technology fields. So how do in like really advanced technology fields, how do you learn those new industries when you're coming out of college, because they're going to be out of date?
I was going to say, it's perfectly all right to come in and not be completely aware of what technology you're walking into in the company that you're hired for. They're looking for individuals who are willing to learn and willing to learn the skills that they want to have you be equipped with in that role. So they're not expecting you to know everything about their company when you walk in the door and be the genius scholar and know everything there is to know about it. But you're showing that, hey, I learned that skill in college. I'm willing to keep improving it, willing to keep learning. That's going to be it's going to be continual learning even in your career throughout. So it's not just stopping at the end of college.
And I'd like to mention that the International Society of Automation is an organization that is about continuing education and allowing you the opportunities to continue to build your skills. And as new technology comes out, ISA does have lots of different certifications, different classes, symposia, conferences. All of those are avenues for you to continue learning and understand what's going on and what's advancing in your industry. But I'd also like to say that most organizations recognize that, companies recognize that, and they will be investing in you as an employee, so your learning doesn't stop there. But there also may be a time that you have to invest in yourself. And organizations like ISA that offer classes at universities and colleges or just around your community that are the newest, greatest, latest things, Internet of Things, or whatever's going on in industry, the people who are at the leading edge of that are typically members of these organizations, and that's where you're going to have to go and avail yourself to keep those skills up and to be relevant for your job that you're doing.
And Karen, that is a large component of SWE as well, is it not?
I was just going to say, I think engineering is definitely a field where employers are looking for lifelong learners. And so I think if you can demonstrate that's you and that you want to be a lifelong learner, and as Rhonda was saying, that there are these different avenues out there through professional associations, through online courses, through universities, and that just to be able to demonstrate that that's something you're willing to do and you recognize that that's going to be part of being successful within the organization. I think that's what most employers are looking for.
But it also speaks to the value of a professional membership organization like SWE, like ISA. There's many of them out there that may have something in addition to at free or reduced prices. So, that's just another reason why it's important to be a part of these organizations.
So I'd like to say, just for fun, when I graduated high school, there weren't even computers. Okay, so think about that. So the lifelong learner, the belonging to organizations, and it won't be the same ones through your entire career. So I liked business. I was going into business and be a business person, whatever that meant. I don't know what a business person did when I was 17 years old, but I went to college and got my first degree, and then I got another degree in a different job. So you have to be open and aware and paying attention to what's going on around you. Some groups you'll join and they'll serve a purpose for a while, and then you'll move away to something new, but keep challenging yourself all the time as technology changes, obviously from nothing to where it is now. You have to change with it.
And take advantage of the resources that are available to you.
Yeah. One additional benefit of the professional organizations that I'd like to mention, particularly to this group, is that they are very involved in setting the industry standards.
Good point.
Yeah, so the things that the rules that you have to follow, those professional organizations are very often the keeper of those standards. So that's another reason for you guys, because you're already ahead of the game. So I predict that you will continue to be ahead of the game. And so those professional organizations give you the opportunity to be the ones setting the standards that everyone follows.
And companies that are technically strong generally have a culture of learning and ought to, if you're interviewing with them, that have really good answers to what they're going to do to support you to grow and learn in your job. And so, interviews are always two ways, and you should be asking those questions, and they should have really good answers for you.
May I jump on one more thing, Kathleen, too? So I love what you said, too, and Rhonda as well. I think one thing that's important, too, is if you're in a company, you understand your line of business, that's really important, too, because then the more you know about your line of business, the more you can kind of figure out, I think, how a certain new technology that emerges will apply to what you're doing. And I think one thing that's great, too, is I know magazines are kind of sort of becoming a thing of the past, but there are a lot of great trade magazines, too. Even Popular Science, and Popular Mechanics, those are some great ones to be reading as well. And going to conferences and keeping up with research in your field is really important, too.
How old were you when you first got into STEM, and what first caught your eye?
Good questions.
7. No, seriously though, I did have a very good science teacher when I was in elementary, so that kind of spurred that I liked learning, I liked science, I liked math. I didn't really know it was called engineering at that age, but again, I had teachers that were great mentors and kept encouraging my love of learning, and then when I finally got to high school and they said, oh, you like science and math, you should apply that to that engineering college or whatever. And it just kind of all fit together that I liked solving puzzles. It was not a one-time click that I was going to be an engineer tomorrow.
Erica, you want to add to any of that?
I was 17. I was always good at science and math. I don't know why. And I learned about the robotics team at my school my junior year, and I thought, I'll give that a try. I had an open class. I figured it'd be good. And I guess I am the perfect example that first can change your life, because I was going to go to school to be a history teacher. And my 1 year on the robotics team, I completely changed. I went to Purdue University. I hold a bachelor's in materials engineering, and I work for Rolls-Royce. It was a turning point. So you guys, good for you. I don't think you're all 17, and you've already found that you enjoy STEM. So it can be any time in your life.
How lucky for us, Chelsea. Erica, did you have something you wanted to add or no? No. Okay, another question.
I had a question for the alumni, which is how do you submit yourself into like putting yourself out there, and teams like the electrical team and the programming team, and the mechanical team, how do you show them you want to be there, and how do you fight for yourself basically? How do you advocate yourself?
My freshman year on my team, I was on awards. So I was writing chairmans and stuff, and that was not what I joined robotics to do. If that's what you want to do, that's perfectly fine. But personally, I really wanted to do electrical work. So I started showing up to whenever they were working after hours or after the meetings. I just kind of was there. I really had no knowledge of electrical at all. And so after everyone else went home, but they were still working on the robot late hours, I just kind of stayed there even though I had no idea what was going on. And so they kind of recognized that I was there and really interested and putting in effort outside of what was required of the rest of the team. So I think if you make it known that you are wanting to learn a new skill, not necessarily like make me switch to mechanical team tomorrow, but if you want to learn how to work in the shop, then I'm sure like someone will take the time to at least show you how to use a tool. I don't know if you'll be able to switch the next day, but like if you just learn those skills, then maybe in the next year, in the next season, you'll be able to do that transition, because that's what I did between freshman and sophomore year. So after I started showing up, I was on electrical team for the last 3 years of my experience.
Okay, another question. Where am I going?
Hi, I'm Marlene from Team 5012 Griffin Gear, and I had a question for some of the leads of corporations. So in previous years on our team, we've had young people who have identified as another gender. So some males would self-identify as female or etc. And so I was wondering what opportunities we can offer them and what kind of resources we can offer them to help them feel more welcome on the team when they feel that way, and to be more open about it, and to, I don't know, kind of help them overcome any barriers that they may encounter in the workforce when they get there and in college.
Good question. Who wants to take that?
So at FedEx, we are very much about diversity and inclusion. It is at the core and the fiber of everything that we do. And what you just explained as a scenario goes back to something very simple in its relationships and people. It's just understanding the human element of being a human, right? And so sometimes we miss that. We get wrapped up in thinking, okay, for me, I work for a Fortune 10 globally most recognized company, and my job can very much demand me being in the moment and what I have to do and all the expectations that I have and my team has. And really, in reality, everything that I do at my job and my team and what we do with our customers, it all goes back to relationships and just understanding people. So also at the conference yesterday, an amazing woman named Carla Harris, who's a dynamic leader with Morgan Stanley, she was talking about the importance of performance currency and relationship currency, and the intersection of performance currency, which is how well you do what you do, and relationship currency is how well you have established relationships and just connecting with people that has nothing but no label on it at all, but just seeing a human for who they are. That's the foundation of what's important to us at FedEx, for sure. And it's just being able to strip everything else away, take the title off your job, take the salary out of the picture, and really just see you for a human and be a person and be loving and caring, show kindness, love, and respect. I can tell you a lot of corporations are very keenly focused on diversity and inclusion. It is something that's very important to us at FedEx. So the best thing you can do is lead by example. Be that person, be the change, right? You've heard that phrase before, be the change, be the person that's in the world that is just a good human. And when you do that, great things will happen in the world around you. You'll be able to affect somebody like your friend, like others that are on your team, and you may affect somebody you don't even know it. And that's just about going back to the core of who you are and being a good person. So I don't know if that helped.
Okay, I'm going a little further up here.
Hi, so I have had like many interests, sort of like you, and like I like film, I like computer programming, all of this other stuff, and I'm not entirely sure what to do, but I got this advice on to combine disciplines and stuff, and I know that you did that, and I don't know if anyone else here has done that, but if there's any advice that you can give on that, or like just figuring out what you want to do with like all of your different interests.
So thanks for the question, by the way. I think that for me, if this helps, one thing I did too is that when you have different interests, whatever they may be too, you mentioned film and computer programming too. I think sometimes figuring out if you could do anything in the world, right, with both those or with even one of those, what would you do? What area would you be in? Or either you could even think too, like if you love computer programming and you love, let's say you love Pixar films, let's say, and you love how they combine the skills of computer programming with being able to create 3D animation, you might say, well, what would I do with my time? Would I try to learn animation like Maya, which is a tool for animation too? What would I be doing? And that's a great way, I think, to kind of navigate, you know, what specific skills you might want to learn yourself on your own, and then maybe it'll help lead to what kind of company you might want to work for or job title you might look for as well. And you know, Karen was mentioning earlier internships too. Internships are fantastic as well. Same with extracurriculars in school or especially in college. There are a lot of extracurriculars on your campus that you may have that can help you really fuse interests too.
Just one more thing to add too, volunteering is always a great way to practice your skills somewhere. Find an organization that needs that and just volunteer to do it and try it out.
Yeah,
Excellent.
That's why I do this too, because it's not that I didn't want to figure out a place that I could combine, you know, certain aspects of STEM or certain aspects of this interest or that interest. I kind of work-life balance it. I was like, okay, I do this at work and I do this other aspect that I love doing with my volunteering through FIRST. So you can find a way to balance it that way as well.
Okay, who had a question over here?
Hi, I'm from 2471, and we're based out of Camas, Washington, which has a lot of tech companies in the area. And something that our faculty advisor has been trying to do this year has getting more women mentors into our team. And what she's found is that wherever she goes, no matter what company she's going to, she can't find women who are willing to mentor a FIRST team. So what advice do you have to making FIRST teams more attractive for women in engineering who we need on our team, but they might not necessarily know what FIRST is or might not necessarily have the time that, you know, FIRST teams require? How can we help them get onto the team?
UL has a huge presence in Camas, Washington, so you come see me after, okay? We actually have a representative from that office here. He's a man, is that okay? We'll work it out with him, but he knows the women in that
He wears
office,
pink,
okay?
it's fine.
Dan Deathridge from UL is here today. He's not, I don't think he's in the room, but we'll volunteer him.
Oh, well, don't say he's here. Karen, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say maybe this is something Carla, I would say can first help with some sort of marketing or resources that teams can share with organizations in their area as kind of a first step that can help educate potential mentors about what's involved and how much or how little they can do sort of before that ask. So it's like that organizations and the women and men in them understand the program a little bit more.
Yeah, and we can certainly do that with the FIRST Strategic Alliances, which have chapters like SWE and like ISA all over the country. So that way you can, you know, kind of look up what's nearest you and go from there. You know, we're starting to build more and more rapport with a lot of these organizations, so they are learning about FIRST and they are getting involved in FIRST. And you know, SWE's been doing some really great things with, you know, equity grants and things like that, so that teams, part of that grant receipt is to go out and find the local SWE section and invite them to the, you know. So if, you know, if you, in a particular area, in addition to the fabulous Elaine over here, I would look up on the Society of Women Engineers website and look for a section close to you and email them and say you would like to have them come to a team meeting, or you'd be happy to come to one of their business meetings, and let's see what grows from there. I'm sorry?
I was just going to say, one of the best things that I've found to get people involved, because we try and do this for a lot of our Indiana teams, is invite them to events, because when they can actually see kind of what the end goal is and let them know they don't need to have experience in FIRST to mentor. There is a variety of things that they can help with. They don't have to just be technical mentors, because they may say, I've never built a robot. Well, that's fine. None of the students have either. So you'll figure it out together.
I have one thing that I think is really important here as someone who maybe 4 times a week gets asked to be somebody's mentor. I think you have to be careful what you're asking. I think you have to really be clear with what you want from the person, because the reason people aren't doing it is they think you're asking them for 40 hours a week. They don't know. They don't know if you want them to build the robot. They don't know if you want them to teach you how to speak publicly. They don't know. So I think the way you ask and the fact that you're really clear and that these programs share with the mentors that you're after, that this is what we want from you. I mean, it could be a panel. It could, it can be something so small, because sometimes getting an hour from someone that, has so much knowledge and so much to share with you could be better than getting 20 hours a week from someone who calls themselves a mentor.
Very good
It kind of goes
point.
back to your point, tailor what you're asking to who it is that you're asking. Make the job description what the person's going to be able to offer you.
Excellent. Question?
So high school is a time full of opportunities, and I have heard not only within FIRST, but even within my career development classes about the importance of networking and building really beneficial relationships. So I was curious as to how any of you guys have been able to successfully utilize the relationships or line of network you have created in high school or college in order to get to where you are today.
I want to touch on it from a college perspective. Now is the time to start. Just throwing that out there. Like, you can always start networking 20 years down the road, but if you develop relationships now in the next 5 years, those are people you're going to come back to 20 years from now and be like, I remember I met someone and just want to check in with them. Maybe they know someone else. So it's kind of just like this huge intertwined web of people that you'll know, but the earlier you start, the more people you have. And one of the best ways to do that on a university level is through career fairs. And so, like, these ladies who represent companies are going to come to your college and try to recruit you or just kind of get to know you. And if you come starting as a freshman, you probably won't get a full-time job offer as an 18-year-old in college, but they'll remember you if you come back and you keep giving them your resume or your business card. And so from your university level, it's super important to learn who you're working with in your local area.
I want to add to that today, and especially for your generation with social media, the people you met in kindergarten are never going away. You can't even imagine. So build it and they will come. I really think that's really true.
I'm an example of networking. I networked with Carla last year at St. Louis because I got excited about being in the audience at this panel, and now I'm on the panel.
I think as well too, I actually found my job through networking, my first internship. So not my first job, but my first internship with Disney. What I loved doing really at first, even when I was just looking at my career opportunities available to me, when I had those two majors like I mentioned and I wanted to fuse them, I did informational interviews. For me, that was really helpful. And because it was more just, it wasn't so much what can I get from you by talking to you, it's more what can I learn from you. And I tried to ask very pointed questions and do all my research that I could about the role that they had specifically and what specifically their job title was, as much as I could, find online. And they remembered me for that too. In fact, the first person I met actually at a career panel in college. It was specifically a spotlight event about computer science and careers in computer science. It was like on I think it was like 5 or 6 p.m. on like a Tuesday night. There was a big campus event, but I said, I should go to this instead. It's more important. And I actually met the person that ended up being my cube neighbor at work many years down the line. She wasn't the person who introduced me to my to-be boss, but she was somebody who I met, who I then spoke with, and that led to somebody else who I spoke with, et cetera, and that's how I actually ended up getting the interview for my first internship.
And I'll add to that. I head up the recruiting at the University of Houston for accounting majors and folks that want to become CPAs and come work for us. And so we go to all those career fairs and we go meet all the students, and it's important that you're memorable. And memorable in a good way. If you're memorable in a bad way, that works against you. But when we posted our job this last year, and we hire through internships, so I interview folks who are in their junior year of college for a job, an internship, that they will end up coming back and working for us after they get their master's degree. So we interview very early in the college experience, and I don't know how that works with engineering. But you've got to know those timelines. But go to all those career fairs and be the one that talks. Don't be the one sitting beside while your friend introduces themselves. Introduce yourself, shake your hand, talk to everyone you can. Because when we posted our job, I got 300 resumes. How do I know which ones I want to bring in? But if I go through them and I remember this person, they came and talked to me. They came to every recruiting event. They came to everything we did on campus, and I gave them an opportunity to interview.
I think to follow that up too, do all of those things and then follow up. Data and statistics say 93% of you when we leave this room, this will be a good example, right? Some of you are going to come up. You're going to say, nice to meet you. Can I get your card? Can we stay connected? And then 93% of the people that do that, we will never hear from again, because the onus is on you to build your own brand and build your network. And internally, within a large company like FedEx and corporate America, networking internally is just as important as networking externally. I met Lisa and Paige through the Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce. We do a lot of work there, and that has opened up a lot of opportunities for me outside of FedEx. But again, going back to what I said earlier, the relationship currency, what that means is building relationships. And then when you're investing in somebody and having a conversation, don't make it just what's important for you. There's got to be some buy-in for me too, because I want to know that we can engage in a two-way relationship, and that you're not just taking advantage of me and getting what you want and then running on down the road, because I'm not going to invest that much in you if that's what the case is. So make sure that you follow up and be diligent about following up. There's one, I'm going to give an example too. The Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce, I was a co-creator of an event called Love What You Do. Love What You Do is an all-day job shadowing experience that we do. We have students, junior and senior females in college can apply, and they give us a list of 3 jobs they think they want to do when they leave college. And then we partner them with an executive women in business here in Houston, and they do a day of job shadowing, and then we bring everybody back, and we teach you how to network. So we build this environment. And what came of the first year from that, a girl was, she partnered with a judge here in Harris County. She got to, mentor all day. She came back, networked. She ended up getting a job, right, just from that event. The other thing, there was another girl who was a part of this event the first year. 3 years later, she was in a job interview. And when she was in the job interview, she had put on her resume that she was a participant in this particular event. Well, one of the women who was on the hiring panel said, oh, I was a mentor for that just this year. Guess what that did? Completely broke the ice. It changed the conversation of the interview. They still went through the process of the interview, but it was that relationship currency, right? So there's little simple things that you can do to build and establish a relationship with people that you meet. We may be strangers. We certainly can be, every interaction is an opportunity to create a connection, and connections can turn into relationships. So that's my encouragement to you. Make sure that you do all of those things, which are really important, and then follow up. And make sure that you're being diligent in that part of the process.
I want to add one thing to that, because I think that networking is something that's scary. Building relationships isn't. It's like meeting your friends. I don't use the word networking. I don't network. I won't network. I will not hand anyone I don't know my business card. If I meet you and we're going to have a relationship, then you'll be in my life and you'll get my business card. I don't go to luncheons where they pass them around the table. Mine aren't in the group that get passed around, because I don't want yours if I don't know who you are. What am I supposed to do with it? So I think there's 2 words that frighten both directions, and we've been talking about them a lot, and one is networking and the other is mentor. What really is a mentor? You want somebody to talk to. You're not asking someone to change your life. I mean, and there's ways, and I'm happy to share this. I've been doing it for a very long time. To have a conversation with someone so they see all you're asking for is advice about opportunities that you have. You're not asking someone to guide your life, change your life, build your life. Yeah. People don't want to do that. But oh my gosh, advice, that makes us feel fabulous. Am I right? I mean, every single one of us, we're happy to tell you what to do because we think we know.
That's actually a perfect segue really quickly, too. So in this digital age, as you mentioned actually earlier with social media, I think LinkedIn is a great tool to sometimes use. I will give a word of caution. One thing, if that's okay. So with LinkedIn, sometimes it's a great way for you, especially as students, to talk to somebody who is in industry who you may not have had a chance to meet personally. But I will say, please, please, please use it carefully. Please make sure you introduce yourself. Say what you'd like to, exactly to your point earlier, say very specifically what you'd like to ask them, because I can't tell you how many times I get people adding me on LinkedIn who I don't even know, who don't introduce themselves at all, and I won't add them back because I just don't know who they are. I have no clue why they want to talk to me, and it's not me being rude. It's just I feel like, exactly to your point too, I don't want to have someone in my inner circle on even on LinkedIn who I don't really know, if that makes sense.
just add to that with SWE, I speak at a lot of campus events, either on panels or career events, and I'll always say to the audience, I'm going to give you one piece of homework, and that is to send me a note on LinkedIn and connect with me. You know, tell me that you were at this event, and particularly where I did my undergrad, I go a lot, and I'm always shocked when I will get maybe one or two. And I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity, you know, for somebody who's inviting you. Just tell me that you were at the event and we'll connect. I mean, through SWE, I'm connected to hundreds and hundreds of companies. This would be a great opportunity. Yet, like you said, people will send you an invite and not tell you how they met you or how they might know you or something. So if you are at anything and speakers or people that you've met there are inviting you to connect, take advantage of that. And then just one comment on a mentor. I was doing a session with one of our corporate partners about a month ago, and I was talking about a mentor that I had who I'm still connected with and really pushed me in my career. And one of the guys in the audience said, you know, how did you find a mentor? And back to the point about trust, I mean, it's really all the mentors I've had who've been people that I started to build relationships with in whatever environment we were interacting, and that I felt I could trust. And so I think that's a good way to approach it, is to just, you know, who's somebody either at your school or your university or somewhere where you're, you know, working or a group that you're a part of and that you feel that you can trust and you've got that rapport with, and that's how it starts.
So wow, that was really a lot. Who asked that question? Man, you opened up a hornet's nest there, didn't you? So more homework. Here's your homework to wrap that up, right? So you're here. There's 12 of us. If you don't leave here with 12 relationships, there's something wrong with you, right? Just like she said, we wouldn't be on the panel if we didn't want to do this with you. So that's one, right? The follow-up. How much will we love on Monday when we get back to the office and we have an email from you saying that I was there, I was in the panel, I asked you that question that everyone wanted to talk about. I was that girl, right? Now think about that at every first event you go to and say to yourself, I am going to meet 2 people in every division, every event I go to. I don't care if it's somebody else's mentor, if it's a safety smart person who's sitting right behind me, if it's a volunteer at Pit Admin. Have you ever met any of those? Do you talk to people at the safety glasses table? Right? They're all there because they're so passionate about what you're doing, and you're not taking advantage of that. So that's your new goal. Every event I go to, I'm going to meet how many people? You decide. I'm going to connect. I'm going to form a relationship. I'm going to ask to be connected to them, and then I'm going to send them a follow-up, a thank you note. It was so nice to meet you. So I want to hear from you on Monday, okay?
No pressure, and she will hunt you down, let me tell you. Let me also just say that being a part of FIRST, you have such an amazing amount of resources available to you, as Lainey just said. Be a student ambassador. You're out there shaking hands, kissing babies, and meeting some of our top sponsors and suppliers. Get to know them. Find out what they do. I mean, look at this group here. Yes, I'm glad that you're here and you're going to get their business cards, but if you were a student ambassador, you would be meeting them up in the VIP lounge later and having a chance to tell them about you and who you are and what you want to do and where you want to go. So take advantage of those. FIRST staff, chat with FIRST staff. You know, we have internship opportunities. We have job openings. We have, you know, what's it like to work at FIRST if that's something that you want to do. You won't know that unless you start a conversation. So it's great hanging out in the pits and all of that, but take the time to get yourself out there. Shake those hands, kiss those babies. Okay, who's got another question? Moving on.
Can I actually make one additional last
Absolutely.
So Grace Hopper just recently at this facility, was here about 6 months ago, had a great segment on mentorship. And they talked about how the most valuable mentorship relationships don't happen when you ask, could you be my mentor? They happen when you see somebody and like, oh wow, I'd really like their role, and you offer to help them with something. You offer to team with them to get something done that they think is important and valuable and want to have done. And then if they see you as part of bringing that to reality and it's important to them, then they're going to mentor you to help you to do that because you're doing something they think is valuable. And those are the, look at those people who you want to be and then reach out to them.
And as we said earlier, we're all just people. We don't bite too badly. Okay, who had another question? Oh, a gentleman, you're a brave soul.
So I think everyone here has seen how technology has impacted their personal lives, right? Lately, it changes rapidly. So my question is around the professional side, right? How have you seen technology change your business, right? The role that you do at work, and then what advice can you give to people who are going to be new going into the workforce to adapt and work with how technology is changing all these fields?
Thank you, you brave soul. Okay, who wants to take that?
I'll take that. I think you just need to go in, harkening back to a question from earlier, demonstrating your willingness to grow and learn, and that you're not narrow, you're going to change and evolve, and that you're keeping your eye out on what's going on internal to your company and what's going on external to your company. I think there was a long list of conferences and whatnot that you could go to that help you see what's really evolving in the future. In whatever industry you're particularly in, there's going to be like another set of like really specific conferences, and those are the kinds of things you're going to want to go to and see what's happening, and that can give you that vision of, okay, that's new, that's going to be a thing. I need to be well versed in that so I can bring it into my company. And I think it's that kind of willingness to continue to be a lifelong learner and grow and change.
I want to say one other thing. I feel like I'm the curmudgeon down here. I don't know how I've been in the technology business for 15 years, but I have. And one of the taglines that someone gave me for my first technology company, I absolutely love, and I will never give up. And it's technology doesn't make technology work, people do. So I'm going to go right back to this whole relationship building, being aware, being the guy that the guy above you relates to. Believe me, I just came from having 20 some odd employees. Now I have 11. The guys with their heads down, working all day long, developing, who don't look up at me, are not the guys I took with me. So I just think that you're always going to be a person, whether you're building a robot or whatever you're going to do. So I think that you have to keep that in mind.
And I think the other thing to keep in mind too, especially for those of you that are young millennials, you're going to be coming into companies where there are employees that have been there for 15, 20, 25 years, where computers didn't exist when they graduated high school. Actually, I'm thinking about this. Facebook was not a thing when I was in college. And I think I'm young. I am young. I'm declaring it. I am young, okay? But that's just an example of how quick technology is evolving. So going back and being mindful of, it's the people side of business. Whether you're an engineer, no matter what you're doing, you're going in, and the skills you're learning to be a good team member are really about just understanding people in general. So if you're the guy or the girl that comes in and you're 20-something and you're going to just show everybody what you know, be cautious of what your brand is. Each one of you is a personal brand. If you look at yourself like FedEx or Coca-Cola or fill in the blank with your favorite brand that you can think of, you're a brand too. And the best way that you're going to be successful going into any company or any job is to understand what your strengths are and being mindful of the team and the people that you're integrating with. Technology has changed FedEx dramatically. We actually have what's called FedEx Innovations Lab, and we're constantly on the forefront of how do we continue to grow and modify. That's doesn't directly affect me in my role in private equity sales globally, but I can tell you that the conversations I have with customers, they all want to know what's happening with technology and innovation, and how is it going to help me, and what are you doing, FedEx, to make sure that you're staying ahead of the curve to help us be better in our place so we can be better, faster, stronger. So technology is something that when you go into a corporation or any business, whether it's a small business or a large business, just be mindful of, it's something that didn't exist or was scarce for some of the team members that have been there for a long time. So be mindful of that, and how you manage through that can help you be a mentor-mentee type relationship with somebody where you're giving them knowledge, and then you establish that relationship. It could help you go really far. So just some thoughts.
No, that's a very good point. And people that, like myself, who have been around the block a couple of times, we have a lot of knowledge and a lot of resources that can be of value to you. So don't look at our gray hair or look at us like, oh, you were around when, 100 years ago, as Lainey said, without computers. We have had to keep up with the times, and from that we have learned a lot of things, and we want to share it with you. We want to be a resource to you as well. So.
Another thing to think about too is when you're at a bigger company, even smaller ones, they might have their own research division. At Imagineering, we have a research and development department, and they specifically work on new and exciting ideas and innovations too, especially as technology changes. So you may end up working with that group as well. I know in ride engineering, we often work with our R&D group too to figure out too if there's a new ride system that's been developed, or one that we want to develop ourselves too. We can start pushing the boundary too, especially when we want to stay at the top of our game in terms of other competition, other entertainment companies that are building theme parks as well. So you actually have a chance as well in your role to oftentimes work with R&D or with a research group to be able to help figure out how to stay ahead of the game.
Okay, I have a question from a member who had to go to the Dean's List lunch, poor her, and so she couldn't be here. So she's asked, with today's technology affording availability 24/7, how do you maintain a work-life balance? I want to prove myself in my workplace, but I also want to have a social life, which is equally important to me. Does it have to be one or the other, or is the way to be successful at having it all?
There is no such thing as work-life balance. I'm just declaring it. For me, it's a work-life synergy, because there's not going to be one that, like, if you think of a scale, and that's what I think of when I hear the word balance, where you're trying to teeter and balance out, and you got stuff here on this side. That's not how my life works. I'm very, very active in many things outside of my job at FedEx in the Houston community here. I am also a single mom to a 7-year-old who thinks he's 30. So that is a job in and of itself that keeps me fully engaged. Work-life synergy, being able to find a way to do what you love to do. And for me, I'm really fortunate because my job, I don't see it as a job, because every day I genuinely wake up and I'm excited about what I get to do. I don't look at it as this task that I have to complete to be able to pay bills, to not live on the street corner in a cardboard box, right? It's a synergy, and so being able to find a way to accomplish what you need to accomplish, and sometimes it wasn't like that in the beginning. Okay, let me rephrase. FedEx is the only company I've ever worked for. So post-college, I've spent 15 years at FedEx. I've had 8 jobs in 15 years at FedEx, but when I started in 2002. I had to earn the opportunity to build the synergy, right? You got to have some reality here and say you're not going to be able to just walk into a job where you're going to, hey, I'm going to go spend a couple of hours in the morning and then go in the office for 4 hours and then go do something else and then come back. That doesn't happen right off the bat. But you have the opportunity to build that and create a life where it is a synergy, where you can do what you want to do professionally, personally, and for me, that's how I feel like I live a fulfilled life.
I just want to support that a little bit with the whole concept of having it all. You absolutely can have it all, just not all at once.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, there's going to be phases of your life where your head's down and you're working like crazy, and then phases of your life will, I'm going to say something that's so untoward, but you fell in love and your head's in the clouds. I mean, that all is going to happen to you. I will say there is absolutely nothing wrong with unplugging from 10 to 6 and getting 8 hours of sleep and taking care of yourself. You are doing everyone a favor by doing that. No one else is ever going to take care of you but you, and no one, I promise, is going to thank you for not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Think about the people in your life that you get to schlep around or take care of because they didn't take care of themselves, and you're definitely not saying thank you. So the most important thing I probably will say all day is take care of yourself.
Yeah, and setting boundaries. I mean, it's hard to do in this 24/7 world, and I think some of it is you do earn being able to have some of that flexibility, so it's not something you can always start right off with, but you do have to set boundaries. You know, like at home, I've told my husband, no laptops and iPads in bed after 10 o'clock. Because then it becomes 10 o'clock and then it's midnight and, you know, we're both still sitting there doing stuff. And it's like, okay, this is just because we're next to each other. Doesn't make it okay, right?
You're not connected.
Yeah. And so you just have to say, you know, again, back to whatever happens at midnight, I don't have to deal with at midnight. And I would often say that sometimes when I have dealt with things at midnight, I've wished that I would have waited till 6 or 7
I
in
do
the
not
morning.
send those middle of the night emails.
Yeah,
I leave them as drafts because I don't want anyone to think I'm available to them between 10 and 6.
Well,
so I'll wait and push it out in the morning.
Either you end up saying things you wish you would have not said, or it does set this expectation then, you know, I have a pretty big team now, and they think, oh my God, you know, I'm expected to do that now. And, you know, sometimes it's because I'm in India, and so there is a time change. You know, I'll have people say, were you really working on that at like 3 in the morning? And it's like, no, it was the time difference. But yeah, you just have to think about, A, how is this impacting you? But then also, how is it impacting the people around you and your relationship? So.
Yeah, I'd also add, you know, we all think we can do it on 2 or 3 hours of sleep, but the truth is, you're not going to be nearly as good as you could be at work, nearly as effective if you don't get yourself some sleep, if you don't unplug and really take care of yourself. Back to that. It really is important, and you really will do a much better job. You owe it to yourself, and you owe it to your coworkers.
I think another thing too that's important as well is some people don't always think about time off work as a way to grow yourself. I think that, you know, you as an employee or even as an engineer or as a person are more interesting sometimes to talk to if you have side hobbies and side things you're interested in. They can be closely related to what you work on, but I think that's a great way to be able to start conversations either at, you know, networking events or in general with your mentor too. I think too as well, sometimes when you get caught up on a project, if you're working very long hours on a project too, you can kind of lose sight of why you love your job. And thankfully for me, I haven't lost that, but there have been many times when I was installing a ride and I'd be in the field for long, long hours. And if I just would take a 15-minute break and walk around the park and see guests enjoying the rides, it's like, to me, that's the best re-wake up, you know, and kind of way to, I guess, make myself feel more energized and whatnot too. But having a good work-life balance is always a word that like comes with strings attached, but I think making time for yourself to grow your own interests outside of work is really important too.
And I think sometimes too, when people work, we have so many of us have the opportunity to work remotely. It's like you know, you're working and you've got to set those boundaries because otherwise you'll just keep going. One more email.
Yeah, and I routinely have a lot of staff underneath me now, and I would say probably at least 3 times a year I'm having the you own your personal boundaries discussion with one of the engineers where they're just totally burnt out and now they're just exhausted and they're, you know, they want to go someplace else. And it's like, no, like you're strong, you're talented, you're capable, and you used to love your job. Let's just get back to you love your job. And the way you do that is that you decide how much you can put into it and you protect that boundary so that maybe it means like you take the 15-minute walk or you say, no, this Saturday I'm with my family. You know, that you need to decide, because I don't know, like, you know, people that you're working for, other task managers, we don't know what really matters to you, and you need to decide that. And the truth of the matter is, sometimes when you back off 10%, you can give 30% more because you've done that. You've protected your personal boundaries and you've given yourself the rejuvenation in other ways that helps you enormously. And, you know, to reinforce another thing that you said, people who are, you know, the best engineers really are creative. They really bring they connect other dots. You know, Steve Jobs, you know, some of what made him amazing was the fact that he connected different fields in really interesting, talented ways. And the best innovators have lots of different interests, and they find different things that they can draw on in other fields and bring into their own. And so allowing yourself the time and the energy to explore what is supposedly outside your job may bring you to a revelation in your job.
And I would agree with that. And we've had many people that have become mentors who had been at their job for a while and got kind of burned out and became first mentors and then remembered why they loved engineering and why they loved what they did. And so that was a win-win as well. Okay, let's take a couple of more questions and then we're going to do a little meet and greet.
You were talking about like in business, when you're new to a business, how you need to build trust. How are some ways you can build trust with other people?
Be dependable.
Also, yeah, make sure, I would say, what some ladies are saying up here too, I would say definitely make sure dependable is absolutely important. I would say if you have an answer to something, make sure it's correct. Make sure you've done your homework as much as you can when you're either going to a meeting or you're trying to solve a problem for somebody. And also make sure, exactly what you guys were saying too, especially with Karen, was, if you say you're going to do something, make sure you do it. And if you set a timeline, like I'm going to send this report to you by the end of next week, make sure you do it by the end of next week too. So make sure you have deadlines that you can actually meet, and you make sure you're clear about communicating them too.
Okay, other question?
Okay, so when I was in like 8th grade, I was told that I needed to figure out what I was going to do by the time I got into high school. So
That was bad advice.
I don't want to tell you that I still don't know what I'm going to do.
So I'm
But it's
wondering,
true. I don't.
How and when did you decide what you're going to do with your life?
We'll let you know.
There's this little concept called one day at a time that is a gift. That's the thing I wish I would have learned when I graduated college. I'm a planner, right? So I had the next 25 years planned out of what I wanted to do. So this is how it went, okay? By 25, I was going to be married. By 30, I was going to have 2 kids. By 35, I was going to be back into, I was going to be working the whole time too, by the way. So executive job, building my career. By 35, into executive leadership. By 40, maybe a senior VP. By 45, starting my own company. Okay, so I had planned everything out. So here's what I learned. It's okay to have plans, just don't plan the outcome. So I was a perpetual planner of outcomes, and guess what happened? When things didn't go the way that my plan had been laid out, guess who got disappointed? Me. Who created that disappointment? Me. So I wish I would have learned, because I missed a lot of red flags on various things, lots of failures in my personal life, my professional life along this journey because of one simple fact. I had plans, but I had the next 25 years planned out. And so this whole concept of living one day at a time and cherish yourself in each day as it comes is really a gift. It's a gift. And I feel like I've grown as a person. I've become a better leader for my team. I've become a better mom for my son by just changing. This is just life stuff, okay? This doesn't have anything to do with engineering. This is just like 100% straight life, okay? Figuring out how to just stay in today. It's okay to have plans, just don't plan the outcome.
All right, who's got the last question? Oh, this lady's been having her hand up all this time. There you go.
Hi, I wanted to know, I work with 2 STEM programs and one is with 180 girls. So I'd like to know what advice or what personal story or even an activity that you would offer to get them excited about being in a STEM program.
Well, first of all, have them all join SWE Next. It is our pre-college program. It's free to join, and they will get information on STEM careers. Role models will be profiled. They'll get engineering challenges and activities to do. We have a private Facebook page where they get to interact with each other and with our collegiate members, so they can ask about, day in the life and all that kind of stuff. So we have some flyers on that. So that would be my number one piece.
Yeah,
of
go to the
advice.
innovation fair there and visit the SWE booth while you're here. Okay.
So, another thing that I would probably say to them is the idea that in engineering, I think someone else said it with one of the other answers, you're always solving puzzles. You're always problem solving. It feels more like game playing a lot of the times than it feels like working. And so, I just think that if they want a job that's not going to feel like drudgery, it's not going to feel like work all the time, that you're going to get to solve some really cool, fun, meaty problems. You know, if that sounds exciting to them, then they totally need to go into a STEM field.
I would say you've probably utilized the resource, if you haven't already, changing the conversation. I don't remember who it's by, but there's a paper about how they observe the differences between young men and young women into what they want to do in terms of a career. And it came up again and again, women want to do something that makes a difference in the world, which is why they're so skewed towards nursing and doctors as a part of the STEM field, and why they're really not in engineering, because they haven't made that connection as to how engineering does make the world a better place. So I would definitely look that up, Changing the Conversation. It's a great book. I've read it. There's a lot of studies. I can't remember if it's Brandeis or someone else who did the survey, but it really helps you change the conversation about, this isn't about if you like math and if you like science. It's more about if you want to change something, make it better, help the world.
Yeah, it's the National Academy of Engineering did it, and so you can just go to the NAE website and you'll be able to download it.
And just take a walk around your neighborhood and look at the bridges and look at the roads and look at, 100 different things. Especially if you got little ones, engineering is everywhere. STEM is everywhere. You just got to know how to connect it.
Sorry, Carla. I think people don't always realize, too, where engineering touches. I know I mentioned Disney earlier with entertainment. People don't always think of Disney as a science and engineering-based company. We have a cohort of scientists and engineers who work on a lot of our problems that we have, everything from game design to mention theme parks. But sometimes thinking about, to your point earlier, Kathleen, too, about if there's a problem that exists or a puzzle that like, if all of engineering is about solving problems, too, they exist everywhere. And I think trying to figure out where these girls and boys who may enjoy working and trying to figure out what kind of problems they might like to solve will really help too.
Well, and think about organizations that their names, like you think of FedEx, you think of somebody delivers packages, but you don't think about how package gets from point A to point B. And there's a lot, to that. You think, okay, American Airlines, okay, airline. Why would they need engineers? I mean, that's a whole other animal. And so, STEM is everywhere, and sometimes just it doesn't cost anything. It's free. You just got to take some time and put some notes together, and you'll be surprised what they get.
Now you have 180 girls, so this may be a little bit difficult, but we talked about those relationships, and I think that that's what makes a difference. That's what gets people excited when they know someone that does that, when they know someone that's in engineering, that's engaged every day in solving that problem that they can call up and talk to. Makes a big difference. And so there's opportunities for them to engage and to actually get real life exposure to engineering and form those relationships. I think that will make a big difference in their level of excitement about what engineering is. Because we've said up here, I didn't know what engineering meant, but having exposure, doing the internships, or since your girls are younger, events like this. We have Engineering Week every year in February, and there are professionals going out into our communities to expose students. And there are organizations like code.org that are specifically, because I'm in the automation field, exposing girls and women to coding. So organizations and real exposure to a project, to something that they can see where they would make a difference, is going to get that excitement level up.
Put the word STEM in Google and you will you'll be tied up for days.
I just said relationship currency. It's right back to relationships. It's all relationships. That's all businesses. That's all anything is in the world is people and relationships.
Well, and I think that's why this panel is successful, why we've been doing it now for 4 years, and hopefully we'll continue to do it, is because for you to see successful, dynamic women doing something that you may think you want to do for yourself, and that's very powerful. So thank you to our 12 fabulous ladies. Thank you for being here. And if you would like to come up, get their business.